Good evening, everybody. This is Ryan with the Farm to Table Direction. We want to welcome you in tonight. In times of trial, faith has always been a refuge. Today, more and more Christians are recognizing the importance of pairing spiritual preparedness with practical skills, just as Noah built his ark. Tonight, we welcome in Chris Reaves, pastor of Trinity Church in Nowata, Oklahoma, and host and founder of the New Beginnings Homestead Expo this October 26th. Chris, welcome in.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay, so we're going to be having a topic tonight that I think more and more is becoming relevant, and I know it's been a question in the back of my mind, and that is, should churches get involved in preparedness, especially in the light of the things we see going on in the world today? And with that, Chris, if you could kind of just tell us a little bit about, how you came about the idea of bringing the New Beginnings Homestead Expo, kind of go back, maybe even prior to, 2020 and the things that led up to that.
So, me and my wife, we've always talked about, moving out to the country, and we've, past 6, 7 years, we started, getting really into medicinal medicine, and I have a rare muscle disease, so I was trying out CBD oil, and we started looking at food and what was causing, symptoms and stuff. And um, so when the housing market happened, we kind of put our house on the market saying, we'll see what happens. And it sold within a week. And, we purchased land, we purchased 13 acres. And, our plan was to have like a slow developing homestead. And then, COVID happened, and we started seeing, the effects of the supply chain. And, our little local homeland here, was running out of food. But then you go to Wasso or Bartlesville and Walmart, and, stuff that was out here, was abundance there. So you started kind of wondering, what was going on and stuff. And that kind of kicked in gear for us on, we needed to kind of speed this up a little bit. So we started, we started out with the homestead crack, which is chickens. And we got the chickens, for about a year, and we have a couple pigs now. We're getting ready to get into sheep. And if cattle prices ever go down, we'll probably get a cow and stuff. And we have a pretty good sized garden. We on our 13 acres, we really pay attention of what's growing on it and stuff, and foraging and stuff like that. For health benefits. And so we my wife kind of grew up in church. Her family has ran Trinity Church for since the 1930s. It was started by her great grandfather, and then you know when it went to her grandfather, and then her dad, and then her mom was running it. And and then we decided that we kind of took a break from the church for a couple years. I think it was a good break. It kind of gave us the sense of, we could do stuff that, and it wasn't just because we were related to the pastor or, whatnot. So when we came back, we really had a vision. At the prior church that we were at, we did a homestead expo. It was pretty successful. The same mission was there as this one. Is we want to make sure that people know what's out there. And we have tons of vendors and stuff around this area that nobody really knows about, unless if you're on the homestead groups on Facebook and or a friend of a friend type deal. You really don't know what's out there, and we want to be a vehicle to allow those people to come in and really showcase their products, and hopefully people in the town will benefit from that. The speakers, homesteading's a popular subject right now. A lot of people are wanting to are paying attention what's in their food and wanting to eat healthier, and don't want to eat preservatives, and they're looking at what's in meat and starting to grow stuff themselves, whether it's like an urban farm or if they have acreage. So we want to help you know people learn how to do that kind of lifestyle and stuff, and we think it's an important outreach for the church to do that.
Okay, with that being said, Chris, I just want to, since you went through that, prior to that, I had never really heard of churches getting involved with that sort of a mission. I'm not saying they're not out there. I just personally wasn't aware
Yeah.
of it. So when you came back to Trinity and the congregation that was there, how did they receive that? That you were kind of going off into a homesteading expo. Did they just see that as just a side thing that the church is just going to be involved in, or did they give you any pushback about it at all?
No, I mean, it's I mean, I didn't really start with the Homestead Expo. We started with the vision that, we want to be the church that, is an alternative to the modern day church. The modern day churches, they focus on entertainment. They want to compete with the hillsides and or the hill songs, and the church on the moves and stuff like that. And I think there's been a shift here lately that people are starting to turn away from those types of churches and stuff, and really, looking at for smaller churches again. And I think our church has always been a one that really cared for the members. Like, every person knew everybody personally, and if you were on the prayer list, people were praying for you, and stuff like that. So it just kind of seemed like it fit hand in hand on you know kind of having this outreach program, because if you're wanting to build a community of believers that take care of each other and look out for each other, I don't think there's a better subset of people to do that than the homestead community. And we we believe that a lot of self-service or self-sufficiency goes hand in hand with the Bible. And a lot of our congregation that was already there were ranchers and hunters, and lived down the country. So they I think they understood kind of the goal.
Right. So people were kind of receiving that pretty well in your own congregation. But from my own opinion out there, that I've seen other people talk about, um, they don't want to get out of the lane. They just want to stay focused on, going to church and trying to be good people and all of that. And they want to just kind of say, God's going to take care of things. And so maybe they stick their head in the sand and ignore what's going on and feel like that, I don't have anything to worry about. Can you speak a little bit to, maybe to that person? What would you say to that person who thinks that maybe you shouldn't get involved with stuff like this?
I mean, if you take a look at the Bible, and the Bible has tons of scriptures in it about planning. It's like, there's scriptures about, who would start building a house and until they count the cost. And, if you take a look at the Old Testament story of Joseph and stuff, I mean, honestly, I think that's kind of where we're at now. We've been living a life of abundance for years and years, and we take it for granted and stuff. And, there's no guarantee of tomorrow. And if you study the Bible and end time, revelation, even before the rapture happens of the church, there's going to be birth pains and, things aren't, it's just going to get worse and worse, throughout the years. So, and it doesn't matter, who's in office or, no politician's a savior. Jesus is our only savior
Mhm.
out there. They can just do the best that they can. But, with if you take a look at the government ever since I was, a kid, you always had one branch of the government that was a stalwart. And it's not like they can get anything done because they can't even move bills you know, through the houses and stuff. So, as far as the preparedness and stuff, I think, you know, like you said, you can either bury your head in the sand or you can, be prepared. And, as a church and as, our members of the church, I feel like that we're the latter. We want to be prepared. We want to, make sure that other people are prepared, that they know, what's going on. Uh, and really, you know, give them an opportunity to, do this stuff themselves.
Yeah. I think it's important to recognize that there's a lot of people across the spectrum who believes in, either pre, uh, post, or all millennialism, and even expanded outside of that. I'm sure there's groups of people like that. What would be kind of I guess, a blanket statement that that we should talk about, that regardless of where you fall,
Mhm.
uh, that preparedness, make a case that, maybe preparedness is okay to be talked about, and especially in the setting of a church.
Yeah, I mean, in the Bible it says no man knows the coming of the Lord. And you can read the Bible and you can read the scriptures, and some scriptures, you can, attest that it's going to be a pre-trib. Some scriptures you can see, mid-trib.
Mhm.
I've always been a believer of, pre-trib, but you know, do I know 100% for sure? No, because the scriptures that I rely on for, my belief on pre-trib could be mid-trib.
Mhm.
The Bible says that the Christians won't face the wrath. The Bible says that the spirit of the Lord will be removed in those days, which would be the church. But when that happens, who knows? I mean, some people believe that, it'll happen before tribulation. Some people believe that first or second seal will be broke and then it'll happen. And then you have, some people believe that it'll happen, right before the Antichrist um, has come. So, the way I always take it is, what I do here on earth, and if I prepare and pre-trib happens, great. I know where I'm going. I can't take any of that with
Right.
me. Um, you know, but honestly, that's a ministry, and that's part of the Great Commission, is because pre-trib happens and I have this prepared, somebody can walk in that didn't make it and, use the stuff and, be, you know, that could be a testament of, you know, of my life and stuff to them. And, if it's mid-trib, then I'll be ready. Uh, even if it's, I I'm not a believer in, we're gonna make it all the way through the tribulation, but even if that happens, we gotta be prepared. That's the end game. As we gotta be prepared that, you can ask any Christian, and 90% of them will agree that we're living in the end times. So you
Yeah,
might as well,
I
you
want to
know,
pause right there, Chris,
prepare 'em for it.
and put a highlight on that if you don't mind. Back in the 90s, we would hear about end time, people prophesying and in that it was coming at this particular period of time. And
Mhm.
and it was always, most of us would say, don't pay attention to that because nobody knows the day or the hour, and most people weren't talking about it though. But
Yeah.
it seems in the recent years that people sense that something's going on. All right. This is the upside down world. And anybody who's paying half of attention knows that what we're seeing is not normal. And as you said, and I've heard, that there are a lot of people saying, look, I'm not saying this is the end time, but I think it is.
Yeah.
I've heard that from some pretty major um, news outlets talking like that. All right. And so um, I think that it kind of puts a highlight on what you're doing. All right.
Mhm.
And, me for one, I'm exploring, where churches belong in that. A lot of them have stayed out of the political topics on purpose. They don't want to, say, hey, you know what, you need to go vote left or you need to vote right. Although I've heard both being taught or preached
Mhm.
about. Um, but when it comes to preparing people, you know, what can you say about that in light of the things we see going on in the world right now? I mean, the storm that just hit Helena, and we got another one, Milton, that's coming that's off the coast of Florida right now, and they're predicting it to be a pretty major incident. And we see, people, man, I can't say it on here. I just know that there are certain people in very high places who are saying things that almost would sound like a conspiracy theorist if you didn't know better, right? And so,
Yeah.
and I'll kind of leave it at that because I don't want to reveal any sources, but you know, but so with
I
that
mean,
being,
even
yeah, go ahead, Chris.
even with that said, if you take the preparedness out of the table, I mean, there's plenty of scriptures that says that, our body is a temple of God and we should treat it, likewise. And, as a society, we can't complain when we have sickness and, things that happen to us whenever we don't take care of our bodies and we you know, put junk in. I'm in the data industry, and we have a saying, "Garbage in is garbage out,"
Yeah,
and that goes to the food supply these days. If we just had a discussion with some of the elders in the church a couple weeks ago, and they're like, "Well, the stuff that is still around." I eat the stuff that's still there from the '90s and stuff. And it's like, yeah, take a look at the ingredients of something that was from the '90s compared to today, and there's a lot of stuff that they add in. And I think a lot of people are starting to realize that that has a negative aspect to their health and stuff. And, I think as a Christian, we should really, not be of the world and, follow the world's lead, but we need to be the exception to a rule and say, this ain't right. And you talk about politics, and I'm a firm believer in the, fair market, values and stuff like that. But, you know, fair market value or fair market has to have checks and balances also, and that's the consumer. If the consumer ain't gonna buy junk, then the demand goes down and they lose money. And that's what really needs to be done, to say, we're not going to take this anymore. We're not going to take you putting formaldehyde in our food, just to keep on the shelf a little bit longer, or, stuff like that. It's, we have to take responsibility as ourselves in our health decisions and just not wait until something happens, like we get cancer, and then, yeah, God can heal you, but, you know, all in God's will. And, we gotta be good stewardships of the body that we were given here on earth.
Yeah. Real quick, I want to bring up something that Red Dirt Rooster Road said. We also agree the upside down world, right is wrong, wrong is right, wars and rumors of wars, especially pertaining to Israel. And I would double down on that. I think that's kind of the feeling of the population. Now, I want to kind of turn it just a little bit toward the preparedness part. Biblically speaking, we have we have some people saying, no, I don't want to be a fear monger. I don't want to tell people, hey, you better get prepared because these things are going to happen. Some people might actually say, I just I don't want to hear it because I don't need to be afraid. The Lord is my savior, and that's, I trust in him. And that is true. That is true. I'm not saying that it's wrong, but could we call Noah a fearmonger when he was warning the people?
Yeah. And that's a good point. I mean, I'm not going to fault somebody for not living the lifestyle, that we live. And, I'm not going to, I mean, everybody has the reasons for doing stuff. Even, we homeschool, but we do realize that, not everybody can homeschool. There's families out there that struggle with two family incomes, and both of them, have to have that, income. Some people make sacrifices, and, they homeschool anyway and live off one income. But, you know, I I'm not a I'm not one of those people that look down on people just because, they don't believe a certain way. But, it's a fact that, we do have, in the Bible, there's plenty of examples of us needing to be prepared. The Bible says that we're going to have hard times. The Bible says that we're going to be persecuted for, his name's sake. Us as Americans, we've got off lucky on that. There's other countries that aren't as lucky, and stuff. And, could it come down to that? I mean, there's no guarantee. I mean, you can see that, with a lot of this wokeness and stuff going around and things being considered hate speech, you
Mhm.
know, Christians could very well be persecuted here in the United States.
I agree. And let me ask you at this point, do you think increasingly that Christianity is in the crosshairs?
I mean, I think it is. I think, you know, I was watching a Glenn Beck show the other day, and he had a rabbi on there, and they were making a good argument that, and I'm not saying anything bad about the Muslim faith and stuff, but, they made a pretty good argument that the person that the Muslims are waiting for as their savior, fits the bill of the Antichrist. And everything that Jesus did, it was the opposite. That person's here to, create chaos. And, not all Muslims believe that, but a certain faction does over in the Middle East, especially Iranians. believe that. So, you know, the big deal is the um, you know, we have to go by with what we believe. We cannot be of the world. And if that means that, you know, in the last days that we face persecution, we need to face that, you know, faithfully, that God's going to bring us through, you know, that in the end. And, you know, I mean, honestly, I could see, you know, if there was another genocide that would happen, it would be the Christians that would be in the crosshairs. It's just how hated the Christians are in my mind these days by, you know, other groups and stuff. And, you know, some of it was our own doing. You know, we preach a gospel in the wrong way. I'm a firm believer that you can sit there and, you know, smack somebody over the head with the 2x4 and try to preach a gospel to them, and you know they're not going to get it until God opens up their hearts to it. And you know sometimes we, you know, as Christians, pound that message a little too hard on people that aren't ready. Uh, but you know you have good Christians, and I mean that's the deal. Is you know a lot of it is you have, you know, Christian and you have Christian lights out there, you know, these days. And you know, and I've done actually some preaching on, you know, false prophets and stuff out there, and there's a lot of them out there that claim to be Christians that, you know, don't have the motives. It says judge a man by its fruits, and if you take a look at their fruits, you know, it's not Christian belief.
Right.
Well, Chris, Jimmy, you know, you're kind of hitting on a trifecta, you know, of crosshairs with not only being a Christian and homeschooling, and also homesteading, you know, home preparedness, you know,
Hmm.
not relying upon the system to take care of you and your family, you know, and that's kind of the Keith and I have talked a lot about that, you know, and even things like the expo that you're hosting and things like that that create a parallel economy or a parallel universe. But with these things, that especially with the Christian community and how intertied they all are with Christianity, with homeschooling, with prepping and, you know, and homesteading and stuff, that if we don't have each other, if we're not joined together that way, you know, we're not going to be able to survive because we're going to be targeted, you know, and so I mean, I think it kind of, you know, lends, because I know you brought up homeschooling, that, you know, that's a hot button issue as well for a lot of people. Even today, even though it's more accepted today, it's still a hot button topic,
Yeah.
particularly from the
And I mean, that's why, you know, me and my wife decided to be so heavily involved in homeschool co-ops. And,
right.
you know, that's why uh, you know, we decided to do this at the church, is because, you know, um, give me one second. I need to have my wife bring in the battery.
That is your point.
That's important. Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, so you know, that's kind of why we're doing this, is because uh, you know, I feel like in the future, as time goes on, you know, we're gonna have to depend on self-sufficient people to, you know, get by, and we really need to, as a church, start forming those communities and stuff. And you know, I might not be able to grow something on my land, but you know,
Mhm.
Joe over here might be able to grow it. And you know, I might not have any interest in, you know, doing cattle, but you know, I have sheep. You know, could we get to a bartering system? Who knows? I mean, if you would have asked me in the 1990s if we were where we are now, then you
No,
know, I would have laughed at you. But
yeah, same here. So, um, there's other things that's going on in the world too, and I think that coming together as as Christians, I have a belief that, and well, I don't think it's just a belief. I think it's a fact that Christians are members of the body, and that the whole body makes up the church. Right? There's a lot of different names on different buildings and that sort of thing, but the Christian values, I think, are showing up in droves in the wake of Helene, the storm Helene, Hurricane Helene right
Mhm.
now, and and we see what's going on. The government, they're not waiting on the government to come in to help them. Who is it? It's the people in that community that's standing up, that's being strong, that's reacting to this. I'm not saying that there's no organization. I'm not saying that any help that the people who are in great need, that they that that the government shouldn't try to help in that. But man, there's just a lot of controversy around that right now, which really brings out that major point about community. And it seems to me in what you're trying to do there is to build a stronger community. And yeah, you are in the church doing so.
Mhm. And you know, um, back before welfare, was government control, it was the church that was the one that, provided welfare for a community. It was the other community members and neighbors and stuff that were, really there to lend a hand. And, I guess that's just the Oklahoman in me,
Yeah.
that feels like that because, I've seen it tried and true. When the Oklahoma City bombing happened, I saw Oklahomans, reaching out and helping, other Oklahomans. When the May 3rd tornado happened, I survived that. I'm from a little town called Newcastle. Well, it's not little anymore, but
Been swallowed up by the.
uh, yeah, that we really pitched in and stuff when the Joplin tornado happened. There was people in our community that was doing water drives and stuff like that. The sent stuff up there. We do stuff for our own community, like the other couple years ago when it was so hot outside, couple churches pitched in and did a Gatorade and water drive for the fire departments that were having to go out and fight the grass fires. I mean, the deal with government is, and even state government, is they can't centralize as fast as local residents can. And I think that's an important factor in it is, by the time FEMA and they'll get on the ground and stuff, whether they decide to help or not, you already have people out there that's, is doing search and rescue and, looking for stuff. And,
Yeah, I've heard it
there
said.
was plenty of individuals that weren't firefighters that were doing search and rescue in the Joplin and May 3rd tornadoes.
Right. I've heard it that we are the first responders. FEMA and government agencies are the second responders.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
mean, it's, I'm not saying the big organizations, I mean, like the Red Cross and stuff like that doesn't help. They have their place and stuff, but, it just takes them so long to mobilize that, you really have to, and, there might come a day where, government's not our friends. And, when they come in, they don't have the right mentality or stuff
Right.
to, you know, to help out, or, they decide to help this group and not the other and stuff like that.
Some
It's
might
just
send
a
their own
strange,
aides
it's
there.
a weird world that we're living in,
It really is
these
upside
days.
down.
It's just going to get worse. And it says in the Bible that people will become lovers of themselves. And I see somebody in the comments that, right is wrong, wrong is right. All
Yeah.
that stuff is biblical.
Hmm. I
And
believe it
it's,
was in Isaiah. It talked about that. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah.
well, let's say, earlier you had mentioned, what the church used to do, and I've had to sadly say that, our forefathers in the churches, abdicated their responsibility,
Hmm.
gave it up, but also the communities. I mean, we're starting to see it more that the small communities are, building that network back. But yeah, it takes that. There's no way without the church being there and without the local communities coming together and rallying around that we could ever survive anything. Uh, if you don't have,
Yeah. It,
if you don't have good neighbors and you're not a good neighbor, you know, you're in a bad spot. You know,
yeah, it
Yeah.
takes a village. I mean,
yeah,
it really does.
and, But I'm going to switch. We kind of touched a little bit on the homeschooling cooperative. Kind of share with us kind of how that kind of fits into y'all's larger vision of the self sufficiency and preparedness.
So we've been homeschoolers since day one. My sister homeschooled all of her kids, so I was a little bit more used to it than normal people. And um, when our kids started getting older, we started seeing them having some learning disabilities and stuff. And we even had a psychologist said that our son would drown in school if we tried to send him to public school. So we made a quick decision that that just reaffirmed our our homeschool stance. And
Right.
so we made the decision early on to start homeschooling our kids, and we've always been involved in a homeschool co-op or two. And we've been in some of the bigger ones in the area, like the group in Collinsville, which is a great organizations. Good friends with Wendy Stearman, the lady that runs that. But we were looking for something closer, and so we decided a couple years ago to start our own. And we started one up uh, with the friend, and then decided to go separate ways, and it kind of split. And so we now have a Christian homeschool co-op that is homestead focused. And so what do I mean by homestead focused homeschool co-op? How does that go about? We have classes like Fix It. I teach a Fix It class. Can be anything from car repair to tractors to lawnmowers. Me and one of my friends, teach that class. We have demonstrations for the parents and the kids where they can group together. Like the 10th, we're going to be doing rendering uh, tallow. And you know tomorrow a bunch of ladies of the co-op are going to get together and make fire cider and stuff like that. So and it's really centered around self-sufficiency skills, life skills. We do have, the normal math, English, and stuff like that. But, a lot of the classes are centered around that stuff. And we even do something more unique. A lot of homeschool co ops in this area uh, do semester enrollment. So if you miss out in the fall semester, you have to wait till spring to get started with the co-op. We decided that we were going to do 4-week monthly classes uh, and offer enrollment monthly. So if you decided to pull your kids in October, you could start up with us in November and take a 4-week class. And we do have some classes that are 13 weeks long, but we do a lot of our classes are only 4 weeks long. And it's been pretty successful going forward. we picked up a lot of good families. A lot of the families that attend our co-op are, share the same homestead-minded um, values that we do. So, and we meet in Nowata on Tuesdays and Thursdays in Talala, which is about 10 minutes north of Nowata.
Okay.
And, and so what,
Go ahead, bro. No, go ahead.
So in Talala, so what does an average month look like at Trinity? Do you do your church, or I'm sorry, your church, your homeschooling actually at the church? When you call it a co-op, are we getting together at a certain location and teaching the children in that location, or is it just you're going to each other's properties? How does that work?
Sometimes a little bit of both. Like one one of our ladies is going to be processing a lot of chicken, so she invited the co-op to come and watch that. But most of our classes are at church. We actually, so when our church burned a few years back, we weren't able to build as big of a church as what we had. So we had to sacrifice some classrooms. So actually the co-op here in Nowata isn't at our church. We partner with First Baptist Church here in Nowata. They have a huge facility that really works out well for that. And then we partner with First Baptist Church in Talala to do the Talala one. But it's you know we have we go from 10 to 1 or 2 in the afternoon. Every hour we have some class, 2 or 3 classes going on at the same time. And then one thing that's important to my wife is having a mom's class, because moms need support too, that uh, in their homeschool journey. So she feels it's really important to do a mom's class.
And that,
Yeah.
I think that's good. I mean, that's, that especially that you've tied so much of it in back to, that homesteading mindset and that self-sufficiency mindset, being prepared.
Mm.
Now you mentioned,
Now I will tell you, a question is should the church be promoting homeschool? Because that is one thing that when our homeschool co-op split,
Mhm.
you wouldn't believe how hard it was to find a church that was willing to let us come in and hold our classes there. And a lot of it is insurance reasons. Insurance and churches are getting outrageous. They're canceling you, for any reason. So, it's you would be surprised on how hard it was to find a church that would partner with us and let us have these homeschool co-op classes.
So what I hear you saying is that there are organizations that maybe churches may depend on, like insurance, for example,
Mhm.
um, that can be wielding their power to cut you off. And being a 501(c), you probably have some kind of obligations, if you will, beholden to the rules of 501(c)s. And I know, Ryan, you just had a story here recently where you guys were receiving a great deal of your tithing through Cash App, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Mm.
What
And,
happened there?
well, we had a situation there, like I said, where we were using Cash App, and all of a sudden they switched it over to where we had to start, where we hadn't been having to pay fees. The first thing they did was they hit us with a fee. We started having to pay fees on out of each donation. Okay, did the math on what the actual percentage equaled out to and how much it was. Okay, we'll deal. because it was convenient for so many of our people. And then they just flat came back and said we were in violation of community standards and shut our account. And which we searched around, and we're still looking at other options, but we actually had to just go back in to the app and create a whole new account and start over, and nobody on the phone could tell us what community standards we violated. What did we do wrong? Nothing. It was just,
right.
just
So
all of a sudden.
churches being censored, possibly by insurance companies or like you just said, Ryan, about Cash App. And this is exactly what I'm talking about when I say that churches may be increasingly in the crosshairs, right? They don't particularly like us if you don't know, no matter what they say on the campaign trail. They actually hate coming to us every 4 years and asking us to vote for them. They despise that. And as soon as we, get a grip on that, the sooner we get a grip on it, the more we can take steps to be a part of, what's called, in case people out there don't know, the parallel economy, which is everything outside the standard supply chain type stuff. We still have to eat. We still have to survive outside of that. And our faith has to survive outside of those types of persecutions. And this is light persecution. I'm not saying that this is major, but it doesn't mean that it can't get worse. But we have to survive outside of that. So we have to build our communities around that. We have to build our communities like this event that you're having on October the 26th. This is an excellent example of things that we can do as believers, as Christians, to get together. And whether you happen to believe that you're not worried about such things because you're going to be raptured out of here, or I'm not going to worry about those things because God's going to take care of my needs, that's great. I'm certainly not condemning anybody for whatever they believe in that. But there are some of us out here who believe that we're building an ark like Noah did. For 120 years, he was ridiculed. 120 years, he was ridiculed because it had never rained. And so people just don't believe that it's going to happen until it does. And he was, telling people, get on the ark, get on the ark. And so it's kind of no different right now. We're kind of in that process. I think the Farm to Table Direct show definitely has a mission, and we think that the part of that mission is building an ark. And the event that you're having on the 26th of October, I think, is just another key role in the building of that ark. So I kind of want to, bro, have you got something else before we start actually talking about that?
Well, actually, I was getting ready to head in there with the fact that I knew he had mentioned earlier that, it was, also opening up, vendors and highlighting things that, that people in the area didn't know about. And so I was kind of going to lead in with that, the fact of what we were just talking about and kind of the expo and what it is, and kind of give us a rundown of that, kind of break it down for everybody, kind of what they can expect and what's behind it.
So it's really an expo / conference. So we'll have 11, 12 speakers that are talking on topics of, raising sheep, what to do to prepare your garden for the winter. It's all centered around, what do we need to do during the winter time to prepare for next spring is the main theme of the expo. And there's a lot of topics that we have a good couple that is living entirely off grid. That what does a off gridder need to do in the winter time to prepare for the next year and stuff like that. So to me, I think it's valuable topics that really relate to the fall time. Really, I do all my prepping over the winter time for next year. So, I'm building fences right now to prepare for sheep in the springtime. Getting that stuff ready, overseeding with ryegrass to make sure they have enough grass, and the soil's good and stuff like that. So, these resources are out there and they're willing to come in and, help out. You have great people like Dwayne Hall and Lindsey Graham and Ashley Klaus that, and I'm probably missing a lot of other people, but are willing to give their time to, discuss these topics and help teach people on what they need to do. And we even have some local people from the homeschool co-op. We have a family that's going to do cheese making and stuff like that. As far as the vendors, um, we have 20-25 vendors already. I'm hoping to get some more, uh, before the event uh, finalizes. So if anybody's out there interested in being a vendor, contact me. But the main goal of that is to, there was people that were in Rogers County that I bought my pigs from. I had no way of knowing that they existed except for I saw their ad on Facebook, uh, Facebook homestead group. So, you know, I want to bring those people in, and our church wants to bring those people in and get them married up to the community of Nowata to be able to come in and really see what's out there. I mean, I don't have anything wrong or against homeland here, but there's alternatives to homeland. If you want to eat healthy, there's definitely alternatives. And this is a vision of our church. We've recently applied for an Azure standard drop and got an okay with that. So we now offer an Azure standard drop here in Nowata. Um, we're going to plan on doing classes, maybe not monthly, but bi-monthly. Partnering with 4-H here in Nowata, partnering with OSC Extension Office to, what can we do to help? What can we do to help? If OSC Extension Office wants to do a class, we're more than willing to, let them use our facility and that's our outreach is building that community. I mean, this event's a fundraiser. All the proceeds will, go to a church probably to pay for insurance because insurance is so outrageous, these days. But, we purposely tried to keep our vendor booths, lower than normal and the speaker fees to give people the opportunity to come in and view these resources. And it's for the seasoned homesteader. I mean, I went to the Ozark homestead and I learned a lot of stuff that I've been doing it for 2 or 3 years. I learned some new stuff there that I didn't know about, and, we're always learning and stuff. But, even the new beginners that might think that they might want to do it. And I'm actually doing a presentation on, our journey as homesteaders and how to plan and set goals for your homestead throughout the years. And it could be small goals or it could be very large goals that you do. My wife is going to present on the homeschool co-op and how we incorporate the homestead classes in it. So I think it's a really good event. I think it's going to benefit Nowata um, a lot. I would love for it to, be as big as the, Oklahoma Rendezvous in McAllister or the Okie Homestead, but you got to start somewhere. And,
Right.
we're planning on doing this yearly. We're gonna learn as we go every year. I mean, these
Is
things aren't easy to put on.
Chris, is this your first year of doing this?
Like I said, in the springtime, we did it at our prior church. We had about 150 in attendance, but man, it was a really nasty, windy day when we did it. That's kind of why we were experimenting with the fall to see if we we would have a little bit better weather, and it'd be a little nicer event, especially for the outdoor vendors. But um, there's a lot of prep that goes on this. You know, you have to reach the speakers, you have to reach the vendors, you know,
Yeah.
farmers markets are still going on, till the end of October. So, can you pry the vendors away from the farmers markets and stuff for this event? Um, you know, and then you have the marketing aspect is like, you know,
Yeah.
I'm sure people in the Facebook groups are getting sick of seeing my post and stuff
At
on
least they
on
know
it.
about
But
it, right?
that's the way to get
Right.
the word out is, you know, I I just don't want to go on the homestead groups and say, hey, we're doing a homestead expo. I want to go to, the local community groups and say, hey, we got this resource. You might want to check it out if you're interested you know, in homesteading or even, prepping your own food to,
Right.
because nothing says that you have to homestead instead, or grow your own food. You could have an interest in eating healthier by just, you know, participating in an Azure standard drop and, again, whole berries and grinding them yourself and stuff like that.
Right. Well,
I
this
mean,
is a lot
it's
of things that
doable. You don't have to have land to do it.
right. These are a lot of the things that people are going to learn when they get there about how useful it is because you've got a lot of experts that are there, and I'm calling them experts. They may not like that terminology, calling them themselves, but I can tell you, being a part of this community has been such an amazing, eye-opening process for Ryan and I,
Mhm.
because we have met so many people that are so knowledgeable about a lot of things, and they're so willing to teach it that when we heard that you had several people that were there that we know each one of them and their hearts about helping the community,
Mhm.
I was thinking, I guess maybe I'm dreaming big. I'm seeing a small circle becoming a
Yeah.
part of other small circles, making a really, really big circle of people who are coming together in communities. And for me, at least, um, churches are absolutely some of the best places because they hold the values inside those churches that
Yeah.
builds community, and churches have been notoriously known of having food drives and helping
Mhm.
the community, and the homesteading community. I would just love to see that in every location that you start having churches having whatever you want to call it. I say it's a part of a
Yeah.
mission field personally. It looks like a mission field to me. Um, and if every community had that, how much better off would we be? How much safer would we be from, let's say, overly ambitious political factions? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
you know,
well, and I mean, the churches don't have to do a homestead expo. Like I said, we're offering our church to the OSU Extension office. We're offering it to 4-H for banquets. We're doing the Azure Standard Drop. We're doing bi-monthly classes. Bridget Nicole. at the pharmacy in Oshaleta, they do classes all the time on Saturdays. A lot of people don't know that. You know, your church could offer that, offer some kind of a training class, how to can, how to you know render tallow, how to make butter, make cheese, stuff like that. That I think the churches could really get an opportunity here, and I definitely don't want you know I I think we got kind of a unique niche here and stuff, but I mean, as churches, we got to be able to share the wealth. I mean, that's a big deal with especially in small towns. The churches, are so in competition with each other that sometimes they can do better if you're all in one, and
Right.
have a common goal.
Well,
Right. Go ahead, bro.
well, I was going to say, being involved in a church, smaller church, in a not as maybe not as small as Nawada, but still, it's
Yeah.
it's got numbers. But it's still a small town. It's got the small town mentality. But you know, that was one of the things. I've shared this discussion with a lot of people. It's like, listen, uh, being kingdom minded versus fiefdom minded. We shouldn't be in competition with each other. We're there. It's all one kingdom. And we should all be a part of that. And so I think that's rich, and you brought up Bridget Nichols, and, which teasing out, we're having her next week. Bridget's going to be on to talk about her stuff, not only what she does a little bit, but also about the expo and what she's going to be doing there. And, in talking with her the other day, her heart for helping people and her calling for helping people with food, and what she does with the farm hub that she has, and just, it's more and more of that stuff.
Well, I mean, even the classes, it's like, we went over there for one class and did Cherokee basket weaving. My daughter's Cherokee Indian. She doesn't have a card because both my kids are adopted, and they didn't know who her biological father was. But you can take a look at her and know she's Cherokee Indian and stuff. And she enjoyed going over there and learning, about her culture and stuff. And I think those are valuable resources that, people need to offer.
Well, I mean, I think it definitely, put a point on not only, the importance of things like expos and rendezvous and classes and offering these things out to people and getting it out, but also the church as a whole, and where its role could be in that and why maybe it should be. And bro, you want to go ahead and read Monty or Michelle's comment there?
Yeah, it says, and in a darkening world, community is vital. We need, as believers, to join together to help support and lift each other. And and I would say amen to that. And as we were just talking about, Bridget Nichols, we were going to be interviewing her next week. But this is something that's been on mine and Ryan's heart for a little while. We may even be extending out and doing some additional things with Bridget and the farm hub. But the idea of the farm hub, to me, is so key to building the ark, if you will. We have to get that parallel economy to where we are, that each community has a way to survive in the absence of the large supply chains. Now, I'm not, we've said this 1,000 times if we said it once, that we're not advocating that you don't go to sorry about that, guys, we're not telling you don't go to a large chain store, but the less you're dependent on it, if things happen, then you're not as afraid. Okay. If you've prepared for things like this, you don't have to worry about, running out of toilet paper. And what was it that we just experienced? Just to put an exclamation point on this, we had the port people that was going to be on a strike. All right. Thank goodness that didn't happen. And I think that's probably greatly thanks to
Well,
Um,
it actually happened for a week.
well,
Yeah.
when I say that, they didn't come to agreement. They agreed that they were going to postpone it.
Yeah.
And I think the reason for that is because uh, Governor DeSantis said, we're going to keep our ports open. We will call in the National Guard to go there. You take away their
Leverage.
what do you call it? Their negotiating chip.
Hmm.
What can they do? Right? Not that I'm all about the government getting involved in that sort of thing. I'm not saying that, but it happened, and this is my point. They were
Yeah.
talking about bananas. There were going to be a shortage of bananas and all types of things, and we did have runs during that week on stores that they were running out of supplies. Here we are again. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be
And
a person that.
I mean, honestly, I mean, we as a family notice a difference. Even my daughter notices a difference. She was born with a milk and soy allergy, and she's had some stomach problems
Mhm.
and stuff like that. And she noticed started noticing a difference. We've over the past 2 or 3 months, saying we need to quit eating out as much as we do. So we're eating more at home cooked meals,
Mhm.
not box meals and stuff like that. Luckily, my wife's a really good cook. That's always beneficial. But I just think that you know just experiencing that firsthand of you know now when we go out on vacation or when we went to the Ozark Homestead Expo and stuff and had to eat out 2 or 3 days, we suffer for it for a week when we come back because our bodies aren't used
Hear
to
ya.
that kind of food anymore. And that's what's great about it. And we're not doing anything special. It's just, we're checking ingredients. We're milling our own flour. Uh, if you don't have a mill, you need to look at where your flour is coming from. White flour is terrible.
Yeah.
Uh, the way that they bleach it and process it. And a lot of people don't like wheat bread, but when you mill it yourself, wheat bread doesn't really taste that bad. Um, that's a big thing is just, I think if I had something to say for people is they need to really start paying attention of what's going on in the world. And, you know, they need to look at all the information that's out there and, quit trusting, uh, the normal news sources and stuff and really take a look at I'm not saying that like 100% of what's on the internet is accurate and stuff, but there's plenty of sources out there, that you can find studies and stuff about how, Europeans don't allow stuff that the FDA just, rubber stamps through and stuff like that. And that's, to me, that's kind of an eye opener because, Europe is more, I mean, I guess you could say more liberal than, we are in
Mhm.
a lot of stuff. But when it comes to food, they're pretty conservative and we're pretty liberal on that front. We allow a lot of stuff that in our food that, really isn't supposed to be in food. And I know we talked about it before, but the big thing that I have to say is that, we kind of sold our souls to, you know, convenience
Right.
and you know,
Yeah,
long
right.
shelf lives of food and stuff, and we're really paying or we're really reaping that right now. I think as a society with some of the health issues and stuff that, is going on. I think a lot of it has to do with what they're putting in food, and also what they're using as fertilizers for food and growth hormones and stuff. Just, like I said earlier, the way to check a free market society is to, as us as consumers, say, we're not going to take this anymore. We need to,
Right.
we need better
Well,
ingredients in our food. And as people start flocking and, living this lifestyle, that's what we're doing. We're telling,
that's right.
you
And
know, big
I take it,
companies that we're not taking it.
right. I take it, Chris, that that's our responsibility. Some people would even call it a calling. And that's what I
Yeah.
believe that it is. It is a calling for us to sound the alarm, show the way, light the path forward in the building of the community, the building in the homesteading community, and preparing yourselves, not just spiritually, but also physically. I don't want to forget the spiritual part of it. But, back in the day when, and even now, we're very much a convenience related society. We are a convenience society. And what I can say about that is um, in good times, it creates weak men.
Right. And that is it, and we were just talking about the food and the FDA stuff, and not having really time to dig deep into that tonight, but I would encourage you. Well, I would just honestly, I mean, it's a rabbit hole that can go for a long ways, but
Yeah.
I would encourage anybody listening. I mean, if you get a chance, kind of just go out and look up some of the stuff that RFK Jr. Has put out in relation to.
Mhm.
The FDA and those type of people and how they represent and how they benefit from those rubber stamps and and some of those things that he's fought against in the medical pharma and the food world, because whatever you believe about his politics, that side of what he does is good stuff.
I mean, I don't agree with 100% of what, RFK Jr., believes, but he's dead on some of the stuff that that you can call it a conspiracy theory or but if you start reading some of his articles, especially the articles about the Middle East and how, a lot of the wars over there in the Middle East are, to transfer oil into Europe and stuff. I mean, a lot of the stuff makes sense. And, he's a smart guy and he did it before he got into politics.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah. It's in
you
his
know,
so but I would say
so
I mean, it's the stuff is out there, and yeah, we have traded for convenience. But Chris, I think that with getting ready for this expo, um, what are some things? I mean, obviously, besides sharing the word about it and getting it out, what's the? I've got it written down in case you don't have it. But what's the cost for somebody if they want to come to this?
So the vendor area is open to public. So that was some feedback that we got back in the spring, which, you know, uh, we weren't able to really, open up the vendor area to the public, at our prior location. But since we're in town, it's really going to be hard to stop people from going to the vendor areas because it's going to be right in the middle of town. So the vendor areas are open to the public. Anybody, off the street, uh, wants to see what's going on can come and visit vendors. If you're interested in the speakers, the whole day speaker event is $15 to get into. That gives you access to all the speakers that we're offering, and all, like I said, all that money goes to the church. I'm not pocketing any of it. Everything that our church does is a volunteer basis. Nobody gets paid in our church. So, you know, all the money goes back into the church. And like I said, it's probably going to go to pay for insurance because,
Right.
we just got socked with our insurance bill this, past few months. But, you know, and things that people can do, spread the word. That's the biggest thing. Like I said, I'm sure people are probably getting sick of seeing my posts and stuff on the homestead groups and in the local community groups. But, I offer, you know, if you're in Nowata, this is going to benefit Nowata. If you look at the Okie Homestead Conference, the one in McAllister, the Rendezvous, that brings in a lot of people and it puts them on the map. And, Nowata, you know, when the news crews come, it's usually not for good, not for good publicity. So this is something that, our community can really, focus on and be good. And the surrounding communities and stuff, take the drive, be willing to drive to Nowata. It seems like a far distance, but if you're in Ulaga or Veneta or even the Grove area, Miami, Welch, come support it. I mean, that and part of the reason why we did this is because there's really, I mean, outside of the prior one, which is still, a good distance away, there's really nothing like this in the central western, Oklahoma. I mean, I call this central western, but more central Oklahoma. We really don't have anything like this, and
Right.
we would like to do this every year and make it successful. And
Right.
My plan isn't to. I realize that we might not have the resources and stuff to get as big as the other ones out there, but I'd be satisfied for a medium sized event if it gets the word out
Right.
and
Um,
builds up the community.
right. Well, you've mentioned Nawada and the community. Have they gotten behind you with this or participate, helping out in any way or?
Yeah, the OSC Extension Office is actually speaking. The Nowata OSC Extension Office is speaking. She's been really helpful on finding other speakers.
Mhm.
We have some vendors that are specific to Nowata. Some of them, were out of town. They couldn't do it. But all in all, I think the community, Nowata, has been supportive of it. I've heard people talking about it and stuff. The ranch supply store, has really helped us out here. So, you know,
Yeah.
I I really enjoy all the support. You know, I'm definitely not doing this for me. I have better things to do than, do a lot of this organization and stuff. And, I'm foregoing some things around Homestead to put this on, but I think uh, I think it's going to be a really good event, and hopefully we'll grow every year, and we'll have our lessons learned after the event, and
Right.
change things up for the next year and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
Well,
glad to hear that.
I want to encourage you to stick in there and continue to grow it year after year. And what I hope to be able to see is that there's more churches getting involved in building this sort of thing. And the reason is because that the more that they're out there that's like that, the more this community begins to help each other out, right?
Mhm.
Like I said, I'm seeing these small circles turning into large circles, and I want to put an exclamation on the on the point that the things we see on the horizon, that we're stronger together, and
Absolutely.
that we
Mhm.
need to hang together or we will hang separately. All right.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
so,
I mean, that's the deal with it's a great opportunity for the churches to reach out to the community, in
right.
my opinion. And the more that the word gets out, the more people realize that, hey, I can do this. It's, a lot of people see homesteading as something that's very, difficult and, stuff like that. And that's one of the things that in my presentation that I'm hoping to get across is that, you know, you don't have to sell off everything that you own and go and buy land and live off grid and, stuff like that. You don't have to start out like that. You can have a 5-year plan, you can have a 10-year plan. Uh, you know,
Well,
with
that's
some goal setting and stuff like that, it's doable. Even if you live in town, there's plenty of I watch a lady on I can't remember her name, but it's on one of the home and garden networks. She does urban farming. She goes to like city lots and
Oh yeah,
builds, gardens and stuff like that. So
yeah, that's a
I
good
mean
idea.
it's doable anywhere.
well. I mean,
Right,
that's one of the things we've heard. We've heard it said, and I think we've even said it ourselves. Start where you are.
right,
Just
Yeah.
start where you are, and
right.
Start with chickens, you'll get addicted.
I just want to shout out to Jack Dyer there, who said this model could spread easily. Jack, we need to talk. Okay, we need to talk.
I
So
mean, it can, and that's the deal. Is it just
yeah,
requires churches to help out?
right.
right.
I mean,
Well,
Yeah, we,
that's all it is just helping out. I mean,
I
if if you don't have anybody that knows how to organize, these events and stuff, be willing to offer your church and, to somebody that's willing to come in and organize
right.
yeah,
one.
Well, like I
yeah.
said, I think it's a hand in hand. Homesteaders of America did a study, a survey, and found that within the homestead community, 95% of people that identified in that community also identified as Christian.
That's right.
Mhm.
I mean, it's
I mean, yeah, it's a great opportunity, especially for, a church with our vision that really is wanting to center our church on community and, going back to the way church used to be and stuff before it became entertainment and, so impersonable and stuff,
right.
and really focus on, the church as a whole helping each other out and in times of need and stuff. You know, it's an excellent opportunity. I mean, I wouldn't if I was a church and I was focusing, those type of people for membership, I would definitely think of the homestead community as, something that would fit that bill.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, bro, look at the time.
I know.
Yes, that's been a good talk.
That's okay. It's good conversation and good topic.
Yeah.
But it is coming into that time of the evening that we do need to wrap this up and let Pastor Chris get back to taking care of family and those things there and well. Listen, I want to thank everybody that's been in the chat tonight for your comments and for tuning in. Hit the like, hit the share, hit the subscribe, all those good. Hit the follow. All the buttons we always hit. Let everybody know what's going on. Certainly let everybody know about New Beginnings Homestead Expo, October 26th, coming up here in just
3 weeks. Yeah.
3 weeks. Yeah,
Two,
3 weeks.
2.5 weeks.
And, okay, what's coming up on the 26th? It is from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. They're at Trinity Church in Newata. I don't think it'll be that hard to find. But I had that address earlier and I've lost it. Chris, what's y'all's address there at your church or where you're having this?
So 117 South Willow.
117 South Willow in Newata. So you can plug that into your
You go
GPS.
to the only stoplight coming from Tulsa, turn left. You can't miss this behind the car wash.
There you
There
go. You can
Right.
get there from here.
That's it. And so anyway, if you are interested or know somebody who might be interested in being a vendor, have them reach out to Chris. They can reach you through the page, through the as well. Wow. Whew. Anyway, New Beginnings Homestead Expo. I know it's on Facebook. And reach out. That is $25 vendor fee. and come out and support that. And the entry fee, $15 at the door if you want to listen to the speakers and presenters that are there. But if you want to come just hang out and support the vendors and support the town, you can come out and do that. It's open to the public, which I think is kind of a different approach there with that. I've not seen that anywhere, but I like it. It allows the vendors a lot more opportunity to make their day a little better. And so anyway, folks, so if you're not doing anything on the 26th, don't have any plans, make your way up to Nowata. We will be continuing over the next couple of weeks to promote this and push this and talk to people. Next week at 7:00, we will be on with Bridget Nichols, Pharmacy Barn to Table. She's going to be here to talk about what her subject is and kind of about the expo and just kind of what she feels, what she feels led to bring in her calling to that expo. I know that Farm Hub. Yeah, we're talking about the Farm Hub. I know our good friend Dwayne Hall is the keynote speaker. I know there's people. He mentioned Lindsey Graham, and I know there's a list of others. You can go to Ashley Klaus. Yes, don't forget about Ashley and Stu. They're great. They give awesome presentations. Good friends of ours, and and go on to New Beginnings Homestead Expo on the Facebook page. You can get the list of people that are presenting and what the schedule is. All that information is out there. So again, this is one of these events that we can rally around behind as the homestead community and help boost this event up. And we need more of them, and we need more and more people getting the word out and getting people involved. So, bro, with that, any closing thought from yourself?
No, other than just saying, guys, again, hashtag we are stronger together. And this is just part of it. What we're doing here with Chris Reaves is what we as a community need to be doing everywhere. Okay. We're pushing this as an arc. I will maintain that we are building an arc, and we're asking people, especially in the Christian community, to get on the arc. And, with that, Chris, we want to thank you for, being so gracious to agree to come on our show and expose yourself to the entire world, or at least to our little circle here. So,
And if you guys don't mind, I'll plug my homeschool group. It's Faithful Heritage Homeschool Group, and if you look it up on Facebook, if anybody's interested in homeschool co-ops. But I appreciate it. I mean, I really do. Any help to make this successful, I think, would be great. I'm really appreciative on y'all letting me come on here, and I know I'm new to the game on doing these conferences and stuff. So I definitely will appreciate any feedback given.
Well, you're going to learn just like along with the rest of us, but I can tell you one thing for sure: you're in good company.
Absolutely. And so thank you again, Chris, for that. And definitely, folks, get behind this, support it. I'm currently reading. I didn't bring it up throughout the show; it just really kind of didn't fit in anywhere. But I'll hit it here at the end. I'm currently in the middle of reading Joel Salatin's Homestead Tsunami. I encourage you, if you can, get a copy of that book to read it. It is very, very interesting, informative, and it gets inside the head of Joel Salatin a little bit. If that's not scary for you, try that out. But a quote that I read in the book and I shared with my brother last night was, there are many people who watch the game. There are few who play the game, and there's even more who don't even know the game is being played. Be a player.
Right. Be a player.
So, Chris, thank you for being a player in this and being out there, especially as a pastor and as a church to reach into your community and reach into that. And everybody out there, I know everybody that's on this chat, I know is open-eyed and aware, and much like this message and the message of the gospel are to be shared. And I think we should be sharing it and pushing it. And I think everybody here is doing that. But as we said, we are stronger together. And so we're going to close this thing out like we always do. Bro, I'll get my first half of it since we're on this little delay, since we're in different studios. But we close out this, Chris, we close out every episode with, we'll say, prepare for the unexpected and keep it local. But we kind of drag that keep it local at the end a little bit. But we'll go ahead and sign off. Guys, appreciate y'all all tuning in. Dakota, Shayla, whichever one is that, I agree. We need more and more people having productive homesteads, and more and more people getting involved. And we'll work on the I don't know why y'all are not getting notifications, but I don't know. But anyway, folks, next week, 7 p.m., right here on the same channel, we will be with Bridget Nichols, Pharmacy Barn to Table. So please share that. Be able to join us next week. So as always, here on the Farm to Table Direct Show, prepare for the unexpected and
keep it local.
Yeah. Thanks, y'all.
No humans were harmed in the production of this